Join 18 ministers from the tri-state area on a pilgrimage to Israel.
What you got is something like 1/3 of that body of water over there, Dead Sea, is actually mineral content. You think of the salt, but it's actually mineral content because we actually take advantage of that because we take the minerals, and in the southern part, you won't see this on this trip, but in the southern part we have the evaporation pools where we let the water evaporate, and all we have is minerals get left behind, and minerals like bromide and manganese and phosphates and fertilizers.
Hey man, not far from Jerusalem. We'll be there soon.
Over here, ruins of a village that was here dating back about 2,000 years ago. Village that was inhabited by people called, a sect of Jews calling themselves the Essenes. I think most of you would have heard about the Essenes. Oh, and what's so important about this place, Qumran, is in 1947, you all heard about Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yeah.
You've all heard that name, Dead Sea Scrolls?
Yes.
1947, I will take you and I'll show you where the scrolls were found, but Dead Sea Scrolls, what's so important about the Dead Sea Scrolls? Oh, 1947, Bedouin boy, you saw the goats and sheep herds down the road, and you will see a lot more going up to Jerusalem. You see these Bedouins living in tents, and they keep their sheep and goats in the desert, and you'll see a lot of these tents going up the road to Jerusalem. But 1947, one of these Bedouins lost one of his goats, figured a goat went into a cave, threw a rock in to chase the goat out of the cave. Once he threw the rock, he heard a crash. Now, when he heard the crash, he realized that he didn't hit a goat, because a goat doesn't go crash when you hit it with a rock. So he goes up there to investigate, and what he finds is, I think, 8 scrolls underneath cracked. What he just did was crack a clay jar. 8 scrolls were found, the original scrolls. One of the scrolls, the book of Isaiah, was found complete from beginning to end. They opened up that original scroll of Isaiah, and guess what they found when they checked it with a 20th century printed Hebrew version of the book? Exactly the same thing. And you got Bedouins. Let's see the Bedouin kids over here. Look at the tents on the left. Used to be nomads. Nowadays they bring the water supply and the hay to the tent site, so they don't have to wander. Why they used to wander around? Because once the sheep and goats ate up all the grass on this hill, they'd have to go to the next hill. They say they open up, they got the whole world in front of their eyes. Good example of Bedouin tent site. Look at all the sheep there. They're gathering in the sheep.
Trumpet in Zion, Zion, sound the alarm on thy holy mountain. Blow the trumpet in Zion, Zion. Oh, sound the alarm. Oh, a sound.
So that's all true. Yeah. Huh?
This journey has now taken us to the city of Jerusalem. Behind me is the Mount of Olives. It is an amazing sight, an amazing feeling that we get. The power of the Lord Jesus Christ just exudes over this entire place. And if you did not believe in the power of Jesus Christ before coming here, I don't see how you can after. This is a beautiful place to be in your journey. This is Phil Popejoy.
Okay, it was a dead language for 2,000 years. And when 110 years ago, when we revived it, we took the old biblical language and we used it for everyday use. You're seeing a camel sitting down over there. Listen, this here is the Mount of Olives. Y'all heard about the Mount of Olives, right? You want me to put that thing on?
No,
You're fine. Mount of Olives, very important to 3 religions, for the Jews, Muslims, and Christians. Muslims, they think Judgment Day is going to take place over here. Jews also. You see all that Jewish cemetery down there? All those tombs there. Nowadays must be about 90,000 tombs. Starts from the bottom and goes all the way up to the top where you see a big fat church with a white bell tower left of it.
Yeah.
That's the top of Mount Zion. Clifford, you see Mount Zion? Okay. That's all Mount Zion. Now, David starts down there. Jerusalem's always started down there because right at the foot of there is the Gihon Spring, the source of water for Jerusalem. Okay? And you always, remember Megiddo? You always build your cities near the source of water in this hot, dry climate, okay? So Jerusalem was built over there, started off over there, the Jebusites, then David takes it over. Solomon extends the city, builds a temple on Mount Moriah. Solomon, a little less than 3,000 years ago, more or less, where the gold dome, what you should try and imagine is a hill called Moriah, right where that gold dome is. One thing I do want to mention, the gates of Jerusalem, 7 open, 1 closed, and I told you the closed one's the important one. The eastern gate, the closed gate. See the double closed off gate there?
Yeah.
Right on the wall. Looks like a tower is sticking up on the wall. All right, underneath the tower, you see the front of the tower. See 2 arched doorways closed off. Y'all see what I'm talking about? All right, that there is the Golden Gate or the Eastern Gate, and both Christian and Jewish belief is that when Messiah comes back, he is going to come through those gates there. The interesting thing about that is the archaeologists have dug up, not on this side because it's a Muslim cemetery. The Muslims won't let you have an archaeological dig in their cemetery. The Christians have a cemetery. You got Jews here, Muslim cemetery there, Christians in the middle. Okay? But the archaeologists dug behind that gate inside, and they have found the original gate here that was here 2,000 years ago when Jesus would have come in there.
Yeah.
You know what dung is? That's what the cow eats and then comes out the other end. Seriously, it's called dung gate. That's where all guys come at.
Remember, you can't run the camera up here at the Wailing Wall.
Yeah, I remember.
No videotaping was allowed at the Wailing Wall the day we were there, due to it being the Sabbath, but we were able to get this stock footage to show you what we saw when we were in Israel. Many of our party expressed a positive experience at the Wailing Wall. This is the last remnants of the old temple, the Western Wall. They call it the Wailing Wall because it's where the Jews bemoan the loss of their temple.
There's a couple of places that are a real must for Christians. This place is one of them, I personally think. Because nowadays, first of all, that gold dome, I'll talk to you about that, the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque. It's important to Muslims, the 3rd most important place to Muslims of the world. After Mecca and Medina, where Muhammad starts his religion off, in Saudi Arabia, this place here, Temple Mount, with the 2 mosques, that's the 3rd most important place for Muslims. It's important to Jews, because you got to understand, this thing here, plus the temple, was built for the Jews, by the Jews 2,000 years ago. First one was 3,000 years ago, Solomon. Okay, temple was built over there for the Jews, by Solomon 3,000 years ago. And Herod renovates it for the Jews. And the temple used to be up on top of here, somewhere over there. We don't know exactly where. There's lots of theories. Temple used to be somewhere up on there, general vicinity of that gold dome over there. Reason number 1, it's called the Dome of the Rock. Inside is a stone rock boulder, and according to them, Abraham takes Isaac to sacrifice. We know who? Isaac. His son Isaac. Now, we all know the Old Testament says Abraham takes Isaac to sacrifice here. The Muslims say we got it all wrong, that Abraham takes Ishmael to be sacrificed over there. And face 180 degrees, look that way. See the gray door behind me? See a soldier sitting down there? It's actually police, but you see that policeman sitting down in front of that? There are 3 policemen. I showed the entrance to the tunnel near the Wailing Wall, the Western Wall. That's the famous or infamous exit to the tunnel that people use to go get out of that tunnel walk. What we did was close off their area so the Muslims couldn't come, so the Palestinians couldn't come to work in our place. We for manual labor, we have been getting people from places like Romania and China and the Philippines, where our income, like European standard of living, they make in 1 month what they would make a year over there. So we contract that out, which in turn takes away the income of the Palestinians. And they're getting to where they're basically eating bread and drinking water, and a little bit of bread and a little bit of water. So the situation politically is very tense. Their radicals are blowing up our buses with our kids. We don't want them to blow up our buses with the kids going on the holidays to shop for candy or something. So we tell them, you can't come into Israel, which makes them go hungry, which makes them be very tense, and any kind of excuse, like a innocent thing like opening up a Jewish tunnel, blows the whole thing way out of proportion. Where we are right now is Catholic Church of Flagellation. Where we are right now is Catholic. This thing is modern. This church is modern. If we would have been here 2,000 years ago, we would have been smack dab in the middle of the Antonia Fortress. Huge fortress with strong defensive stone walls, with 4 towers all around here. Say an area the size, a courtyard the size of a football field, and we're the middle of the football field. This here is where Jesus would have started on the way of the cross going down to the Calvary. He left the fortress from here. This is the remnants of the road that was here those days, 2,000 years ago. What I want you all to realize is we'll be walking up on top of there, but I want you all to realize that 10, 12 foot underneath where we're going to be walking is the remnants of the ancient road that Jesus would have walked on when he left the prison to go down with the cross to the Calvary. Over here, and this place here is the third station. Third station is where Jesus falls down. Tradition has it falls down for the first time bearing the cross. Altogether 3 times tradition says he falls down. This is where he falls down for the first time. And the traditional way of the cross says he goes the way I'm going to take you, makes a left turn, and then goes to what is now called the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, but I'll explain that when we go.
We have a large percentage to fade away from
Fourth station.
Carl says he knows.
Fourth station, little chapel behind here. Fourth station is where Mary, the mother of Jesus, sees Jesus after he's been punished and persecuted and hid.
I always help somebody. That's why I had to give that person back there some shekels.
Yeah.
Just in remembrance. That's where Jesus had compassion.
Yes.
He had compassion on everybody.
You make out the brown door up ahead of us?
Simon Serene.
That brown door, that is the fifth station. Fifth station, Jesus, after having fallen down, you gotta remember he spent night being pushed around and mocked, and he's tired, falls down. He's delaying the procession, and so as not to delay the procession, what the Romans do is grab Simon the Cyrene, and they tell Simon the Cyrene to help Jesus carry the cross. So that station there, understand, it's the sixth station. What tradition has it is that Jesus goes up in April, it's hot here, Jesus perspires, and a woman takes her kerchief and has Jesus wipe his face with her kerchief, and miraculously the image of Jesus stays on that kerchief. Spread them. Can you see up on top it says 7th station up on top there? In Latin, Roman numerals. You will see later on with that group ahead of us lead, you will see another door over there. There's another chapel. You can start seeing it now. That there is the 7th station where Jesus falls down for the second time bearing the cross. We're going to make a left turn. When we make a left turn, look right about 20 yards up the steps, and that's where the 8th station is. And the 8th station is where the women of Jerusalem, seeing Jesus suffering, they start to cry over the faith, and Jesus said to them, do not weep for me, weep for yourselves. Okay. But the 8th station is just up to the right over there. We're not going to go. We're going to have to detour there because it's blocked off now. But we're going to make a left turn. Now, when we make a left turn, that's the main market street of the Muslim quarter. Gets really, really crowded, so I'll slow the pace down a little bit, and you watch it while it's doubling. Okay?
this crowd, Pearl?
Oh my goodness, I'll be glad when we get out.
No, that's all right.
Very we need more $10. It's many.
To see here in this church. Now this church where we are right now is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Built the first church here. When she came here, what she saw was a hill over there, a hill that sometimes you guys call it Golgotha, sometimes Calvary, sometimes Skull Hill, but the hill was over there. She chops it down and leaves to make the access more easy, but leaves the important sites intact.
Go ahead. Where we are at right now is where Jesus was nailed to the cross. Where down below is where he was prepared. Up here is where he was actually nailed. Then they took him just a short distance, which is over where most of the pilgrims are right now, and that's where they placed him into the ground. And as he lay there, and as the time goes that he died, they were to take him down. At the bottom of the hill right now is a slab of marble where the traditional site is where they cleaned his body for burial and wrapped him in a shroud. And then just a short way over, tradition says, is Joseph of Arimathea's tomb. There's some controversy as to whether or not that is the correct tomb or not. The construction that is there now was built by the Tsar in the 1800s because the pilgrims had taken every piece of rock that had belonged to Joseph. As we come, this is the traditional site. Right below where the cross is now, if we could look down below that, you would see the hole in which a cross would have been placed into the rock. Right now we are on top of Calvary, which is also known as Golgotha or the skull. As you can see, this is a very holy place for pilgrims around the world.
Dr. Popejoy and I are standing here in front of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. In the background here, we've just been inside, and we've been up on the mountain to see Mount Calvary from the traditional site. And there's some things that add credulence to the fact that this is Golgotha, this is the site, and then there are some things that trouble us yet. What are your feelings at this point?
Well, at this point, and until I see the garden, I tend to agree with General Gordon on the burial side, not anything else. Because
you see, what's interesting about this is that I'm wrapped up in the traditional site, and I'm wrapped up into it because of the history that ties it together. But why are you agreeing with General Gordon?
Well, for one thing, Joseph of Arimathea was a rich man, and this area had been used for several years, actually, for not hundreds of years, but at least 10 years, 15 years, for the execution of zealots or anybody who was a political prisoner or a criminal. My mind of thinking is that a rich man would not build his tomb less than about 50 yards actually from an execution site. It would be a defilement. A rich man would build his tomb out in a secluded area where there would be more prestige for himself or his family, as a family burial plot.
Don't get your back on.
We'll take you around, explain everything there is to know about this place.
We said this.
We also don't make any absolute claim that this is the very place where Jesus died and rose again. Some people believe it was down at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Some people dispute that because they're not sure whether that site was inside or outside of the city wall in the time of Christ. But here on this site we have a 1st century Jewish tomb that fits the biblical description of the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea. Therefore it's a wonderful visual aid of those great events of 2,000 years ago.
So here we are now, Dr. Popejoy, at the Garden Tomb.
Yes.
And we're continuing our debate on which is the authentic site, because the other site we've examined, and when we were over there I was leaning strongly towards the other site. There were a couple of reasons for that. The first one was that Helen had been there in the 3rd century, and and that was so much closer to the event. that it seemed to weigh some heavy evidence on the fact that would make it authentic. There's also an earthquake fault that runs right through the center of that whole area over there, which adds an argument to that authenticity of that site. But I have to tell you, well, what are your thoughts after have you changed your mind?
No, I'm more firmly convinced than ever that this is the spot.
You're more firmly convinced.
And the reason is that at a fault, you know, the damage is even more severe, but there is damage farther away that radiates out. But it's the garden, and the garden that they talked about was here in the 1st century. The cistern that carried the water was here even before the time of Christ. The area that we talked about was the area where they stoned and where they tried to, which would have made a perfect place for 3 crosses to be in a pathway for people to mock. And this is a rich man's tomb.
But the biggest thing to me is the trough in front of the tomb, where the rock rolled. Now again, that's not conclusive, because there could have been, no doubt was, perhaps a trough of some sort in front of the other one. The other one's messed up. I guess if we could take this and put it over there,
there would be no problem with any of the discussion.
But you know, in spite of all the discussion, Phil, I'm sure most of us are going to agree it doesn't really matter.
No, it's empty.
Because he's a living
He's a
Christ.
living God.
Both of these tombs are empty, praise God.
He withdrew about a stone's throw beyond them, knelt down and prayed, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." An angel from heaven appeared to him and strengthened him. Being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground. When he arose from prayer and went back to his disciples, he found them asleep, exhausted from sorrow. "Why are you weeping?" he asked them. "Get up and pray so that you will not fall into temptation."
Sitting just outside the door of the traditional upper room. Actually, this building that's here right now has only been here about 600 years. But this pillar behind me is an archaeological piece that's 2,000 years old. And archaeologists think that it was a pillar used in probably the first Christian church, that is a Gentile Christian church built on this site. And built here because Jesus said at the Last Supper, "This is the new covenant." So this, then, I guess we would say, is the New Covenant Church. But that's good evidence that this was the site of the traditional upper room.
And we offer up to you the sacrifices of thanksgiving, and we offer
This is about as exact a replica as you could get, or an exact model as you could get of Jerusalem as it would have looked like before the Romans come and destroyed Jerusalem in AD 70.
He'll be your friend. He'll be your friend. On trouble one. On trouble one. He'll be your friend. He'll be your friend. Others let you down. Don't let you down. Come on. Come on. All right. Just say all right. All right. Just say all right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Yeah.
I don't know why you didn't sit here the whole week. In the Holocaust Memorial, I heard you guys built one in Washington. The Holocaust Memorial over here, museum built just after Israel was found in 1948. They opened this thing up over here. And what you're going to see inside that museum is not going to be very pleasant. because what you're going to see in that museum tells a story about what happened to Jewish people in the Second World War in Europe. And a lot of people, very often I get the reaction, people asking, how come, why don't you guys just forget what happened in Europe and just keep on going? Look at, not very pleasant, because what goes on there describes what the Nazis did to the Jews, and try and look at it, I am a Jew, but try and look at it objectively. One of the worst things that mankind did to other people is what the Nazis did to Jews in Europe between started off 1933, say till 1945. We built this museum up so that we would not forget what happened, because if you forget what happened, you let yourself in for that thing to happen again.
Never again.
Jerusalem's just behind us, a couple hundred yards behind us, Bethlehem a couple hundred yards ahead of us. This is the Israeli checkpoint, and when we get to Bethlehem, you'll see Palestinian police over there. So West Bank and the Palestinian Authority, we're coming into Bethlehem.
Because the Holy Land is going to be on the air very soon.
Praise the Lord. Our prayers are with you, brother.
Thank you, brother. God bless you and all of my friends in Quincy.
Amen.
Goes all over the country. She comes to Bethlehem, she asks the locals, where was Jesus born? One of the local guides, he takes her down to a cave, which I will take you to in a few minutes, and he says, this is the birthplace of Jesus, and she has the first church constructed on top of that site. There was no room at the inn, so they went to a stable, but they didn't go to North America, a North American stable, a nice red roof with nice whitewashed walls over there. Now, I forgot to mention when we were going a couple days back, but remember where the Bedouins coming up to Jerusalem after Qumran, the Dead Sea, came up to Jerusalem through the desert, and you saw the tents and stuff, and you saw the sheep and goats there, and sometimes, if you were very perceptive, you were seeing how they still nowadays use some of these caves as stables. A bit of shrubs and a little bit of grass there, just enough for shepherds to keep herds of goats and sheep. And that in the distance, where the brown part is in distance on the right, that's what we call Shepherd's Field. That's where we figure the shepherds were, where the angels were keeping their sheep, and when the angel came down to tell them about the birth of Jesus in Bethlehem.
Have you here today, and we count it a great privilege for you to come by and see what God has done for us through the years in this land of the Bible, where Jesus was born, died, crucified, rose again, hallelujah, and coming back again to this land very soon. Thank you, and good to have you all, all of you here with us, and may the Lord bless you. And if we don't see you here again, we'll see you up in the air, Amen, in the glory someday in Hallelujah Square. Praise God. Jesus. God bless.